Much like our plane of existence, the world of Fallout has weapons. Much like the United States, it has an abundance of guns and ammos, which causes much stress for its denizens. And that is my goal, to strike fear within the hearts of children. Can you beat Fallout New Vegas with only a minigun? If you theorized yes, congratulations, you get a gold star. I hope that takes you back to when you peeked in Mrs. Claus's kindergarten classroom after tattling on Billy for breaking into the finger paints and huffing them. Billy needed that high to cope with his parents' divorce. I hope it was worth it. Anyways, we start a playthrough like any other. Doc Mitchell wakes us up in his very extremely dusty house, which smells exactly how you think it would. I chose a fitting name that only real gamers will understand. Next were my specials. Focusing strength so I can just hold the thing, intelligence for skill points, and luck so I can live my lifelong dream of beating the house in blackjack. Those underpaid dealers have had it too good for too long. Finally, I got some much-needed therapy from the doctor with questionable credentials. Chose lockpick, sneak, and guns as my tag skills. I chose guns for obvious reasons. Sneak would just be useful, but lockpicking would be essential. For my traits, I took fast shot, so that way I could shoot faster and with much less accuracy, similar to how I do in the bedroom. I raided Doc Mitchell's home, stole his medical supplies, ravaged his fridge, took his last box of Abraxo, and confiscated his hentai collection. Taught some sarsaparilla bottles the meaning of pain, witnessed a shouting match, bringing back childhood trauma. Then I fixed a radio, which in comparison is much easier than fixing a broken heart. Anyways, then I spoke to Joe Cobb, went to harass the worst member of the Beatles, and told him I'd kill him. He did not like that. In the same way Billy did not like his new sober life. The Beatles reject chased me around a good bit, so I ran to Big Daddy Joe, but he just fled like a little bitch. So I left Goodsprings and made my way towards Prim. I was stopped by your everyday G.I. Joe. Someone left mines on the ground, so being a good citizen, I picked up their litter. My pockets now brimming with good karma. Introduced myself to the sheriff, borrowed his John Marston cosplay, played hide and seek with some raiders, I lost, said howdy to Johnson Nash, sold him junk, tiptoed through the tulips, made my way to the Bison Steve Hotel, my thoughts being, save Deputy Dipshit, get XP. But after finding an easy, locked door, I realized I had just about enough skill to unlock the chest at Black Mountain that actually has a minigun. My initial idea was to make my way to Novak and pickpocket the Nightkin butchering cows. Yes, you can pickpocket it. I loaded an old save, abandoned all endeavors to save Deputy Beagle, and traveled back to Goodsprings. Headed towards Yangtze Memorial, met a beautiful woman, but she wanted to dominate me, so it didn't work out, unfortunately. I scrapped the generator from a communist mining community, continued to Black Mountain, got stopped by Neil, sneaked my way into the super mutant playpen. I snuck past undetected. They were none the wiser, ignorant of the fact an intruder was in their home taking their life savings. They won't be retiring to Mar-a-Lago anytime soon. Finally, I reached level 2, dumped all my skill points into guns. I could use a magazine to pick the average lock, crept near the locked trunk, and with the tact and dexterity of a drunk boxer, I successfully unlocked it. I finally had a weapon, one large enough to match my god complex. I ran into a group of super mutants. I had 77 bullets and the accuracy of a mole that grew up in a Catholic household and spent its nights making the bald man cry. I used the Joestar family technique, discovered the I-88 trading post, backtracked to Goodsprings, decided to take revenge on Ringo. If he were lactose, I'd be the milk. If he were allergic to grass, I'd be Mother Nature and correct the human gene pool. If he were me, I'd be my own crippling depression. This is a stupid analogy. What I really mean to say is I killed the bitch. Decided the rest of my bullets could be used to help an old man sleep. I'm generous like that. The locals did not like my Beatles hate crime. I could only watch the chaos as I had no bullets. Things did not look well for me. Joe Cobb was having a sky burial. My last friend in this kangaroo court was Powder Ganger number 4. A good man with a wife and kids who wanted to leave this life behind. He got his wish. I wept, then looted his shit. Ran away once more. Saw a soldier get shot, went to see if he was going to make it, but I'm not a doctor, so I took his shit. His uniform would give me access to Camp McCarran and the monorail. Talked to the boys about how patrolling the Mojave makes you wish for a nuclear winter. Met Victor, and I made my way to the Lucky 38. That was my first line in this video. Instead, I ventured into the concrete jungle that is Freeside. I did as any good Catholic would. Gambled away my life savings. Sorry, Low Jimmy, but if you want to go to college, you gotta start working the mines. Headed to the gun runners with intent to procure some 5mm rounds. A big issue with the minigun is that it's not economical in any way, costing roughly 9,000 caps to fix, and ammo being 1 cap a shot for standard, 4 caps for hollow point or armor piercing, the minigun is high cost partnered with high maintenance, and its worth is questionable. In short, the minigun is synonymous to the American education system. I wandered into the tops, greeted the receptionist. His first mistake was acknowledging my existence. His final mistake was violating my Second Amendment right. I opened fire on his anarcho-postalist ass. What's an anarcho-postalist? A deviant who believes in no government aside from a government-mandated postal service. Yes, these people do exist. Stay vigilant. After many deaths, I had finally killed Chandler, though I made one mistake. One crucial and detrimental error. An oopsie daisy, if you will. I forgot the fucking platinum chip, the literal point of the entire game. I circled back. There were no issues, none at all. Everything was fine. Now that I had the platinum chip, I was unkillable, indomitable, and inevitable. I decided to see the king. Completing this questline early would prove vital in an NCR-sided playthrough. Long story short, the king needed me to bust some skulls, take some names, and resolve years of systemic conflict and tension stemming from the NCR occupying Freeside. A simple task for a mailman. I did the usual song and dance. Hired Oris to get to Elizabeth Kieran, and ignored any context between points A and B. The minigun really didn't come into play in this quest, or really too much in this playthrough so far, aside from killing Benny. But now that quest is over, and as the legendary Mitten Squad would say, the real game begins. I visited Mr. House, and got the lowdown on his robot fetish. James Garrett would be proud. I ran to the NCR embassy, introduced myself to Ambassador Crocker, got tasked with the job of making contact with the boomers. I quickly restocked on bullets after the Tops fiasco. Next, I headed northeast, and I spotted him, an NPC who I kill in every playthrough. I played New Vegas many times before, and honestly, I have no idea if the instructions George gives you to get to the boomers are legit or not. All I know is, I can smell a scam artist from at least 2 miles away. And George? He reeks of lavender, coffee, and Rogaine. I opened fire, took off my clothes, hopped away, and never looked back. I met the head of the boomers. She reeked of xenophobic propaganda. I disposed of her post-haste and stole her old people meds. Raquel was less than happy. No worries though, I took care of her too. I reported my failure to Crocker. He was disappointed, but yeah, that's fine. I'm used to disappointing. Next, the ambassador needed me to resolve yet another conflict between the NCR and the Kings, so I made my way back to Freeside to get an audience with the King. Luckily, because I ran errands for the King in my youth, he owed me a favor. Unfortunately, this isn't Oblivion. Otherwise, I would have been the leader of the Kings in a goddamn heartbeat, roaming the wastes with Elvis on my left and Johnny Bravo on my right. So instead, I asked him to calm down, and he complied. Next, I decided for no real reason, I want to kill a symbol of capitalism. Heck Gunderson is now Heck Gunder dead. Bad joke. I then returned to Ambassador Crocker, reporting my great success, and he rewarded me by sending me off to meet my least favorite NCR NPC in the entire game, Colonel Moore. I waited 3 days for vendors to restock. I had a hankering that only bullets would satisfy. I grabbed my ammunition, and now I was ready to settle the score. I returned to Goodsprings and raised my gun. Easy Pete was fast, but my bullets were faster. After I killed Obsidian's obligatory fan service, I decimated Cheyenne and put Sunny Smiles on the ground. My holy vengeance was complete. Powderganger number 4 may now rest in peace. I fast traveled to the I-88 trading post, recruited Veronica. She was none the wiser and had no idea what my true intention for needing her assistance was. She gave me access to the Brotherhood of Steel bunker, and I was going to activate the self-destruct failsafe. Everyone she knew gone, reduced to dust. She truly is the loneliest girl in the Mojave. My misadventures led me to Boulder City. I had to report to Colonel Moore at Hoover Dam, but decided to make a pit stop. Private Kowalski was now damned to an eternity of chasing me throughout the Mojave. Colonel Moore tasked me with handling the Great Khan situation. On the way to Red Rock Canyon, I ran into my first real issue. A random raging gecko was chasing after me. That and a group of cosplayers were sent for me. Apparently Caesar did not like that I was doing an NCR playthrough and sent assassins. No biggie, I have a large gun and seemingly endless ammo. What could go wrong? I broke my gun. My last real save was pre-boomer. My last auto was right before the grown men wearing junior high football equipment started harassing me. I ran. Eventually I lost them. I was finally able to fast travel. I sold my treasures I borrowed from the boomers. Gotta share that generational wealth after all. Gambled some more because maintaining a minigun has the same financial weight as the American healthcare system. Mick repaired my gun. Private Kowalski almost got me in good springs while I waited to reset the vendors. I bought even more ammo. After all, I had a mission to pacify, or more accurately, genocide the Great Khans. I picked up a mod for my minigun that increases my fire rate. This would help immensely in my totally diplomatic mission. Finally, we were ready for the Khans. I'd say they shot first, but we know that's a lie. It was an extremely one-sided encounter. Diplomacy has no place in democracy, at least not when there's an outside party. With Papa Khan being incapacitated, I was now free to carry out the Colonel's orders. I indiscriminately killed, which was easy because only Great Khans live in the canyon. With the job done, I returned to Hoover Dam, picked up a snow globe, and reported my disturbingly successful mission. She was pleased. My next mission was in the Strip. I needed to neutralize the Omertas, one of the 3 families that run Vegas. The Ultralux were masked cannibals. The Tops had Chandler from Friends, and the Omertas were Tony Soprano if he didn't have the gabagool. Another casino greeter made the mistake of acknowledging me. I hate awkward social situations, and this asshole just made one. So I did what any reasonable introvert would. I popped a cap in his ass in the form of a barrage of 5mm. He was hesitant to accept it first, but in the end, the bullets really made their way into his heart. Slowly but surely, I made my way through the lobby, into the bar, into the Big Cheese. Big Sal was dead. Colonel Moore, always the sadist, decided the Khans and Omertas weren't enough. Now I was tasked with killing Mr. Robert House, the man who started it all. He was the shell of a man. The deed took no time at all. Now the Colonel informed me that the president of the NCR was going to be making his way to Hoover Dam, and it was my job to aid in security. I reported for duty and waited for the vertibird to arrive, but not with the goodwill the NCR was familiar with. As President Kimball arrived, I decided to turn traitor. I shot at his vertibird while fending off the Rangers. It was taking heavy damage. I reloaded for the last time, and we got him. Now the new dilemma. I had several Rangers locked in on me. For some reason my ammo pack was multiplying, only in appearance of course, and a private who wanted to play hero. Private Kowalski would now be joining his little bitch brother. After killing Kimball, I retreated to the Tops. Because I've betrayed the NCR, killed Mr. House, and pissed off Caesar's legion of cosplay, my last option was an independent New Vegas ending. So I went to talk to everyone's favorite passive-aggressive sex bot, Yes Man. We left for the Lucky 38. I gave him the platinum chip, and now I had to deal with the remaining tribes of New Vegas, which is only the Ultralux. Mortimer now resembled his namesake. Marjorie was knocked unconscious by my bullets, and then eventually died. My gun's ammo pack was glitching more than ever. I've never experienced this, probably because I never used the minigun. I stopped for refreshments. Locals were unhappy that I stole their food and ate it all in front of them, so I ended his misery the only way I knew how. Next was the El Dorado substation. And now I was ready for the end game. Or so I thought. We'll get into that later. I fought my way through Legion and NCR, slowly advancing through the dam. Surprisingly, the Legion has only just started to hate me. I lined to get into the control room, installed the override chip, and the real battle had begun. Unfortunately, my weapon was on the verge of breaking. That's 9,000 caps and a gunsmith I don't have. So I tried to run past the Legion and save what remained of my gun to kill Legate Lanius. That didn't work. Not even a little. So instead I jumped off the dam in hopes of ending it. But I landed in water and got a new idea. Maybe I could climb the outside of the dam and sneak into the Legion camp. Nope. Didn't work. I had to reload and fix my gun. So I backtracked to before the battle. I didn't want to bother with gambling, so instead I visited Jacobstown. Even though the game takes place in Nevada, this town was surprisingly reminiscent of Detroit. Jacobstown is a commune of super mutants, and the NCR has hired mercenaries to handle them. What better way to make money than scamming the mutants being harassed and taking their protection money, and then instigating violence on both sides so that I can get a hella loot. There's no dungeon master stopping me from being an absolute murder hobo, so that's exactly what I did. The ground stained with the blood of the innocent, and my pockets filled to the brim full of weapons, armor, and ammo I so generously relieved them of. I sold the goods and got the gun repaired, then showed the locals how shiny Betsy looked now. made a pit stop at the old Mormon fort, and picked up some meds from the followers. I returned to Yes Man and told him this time I was ready for real. Pretty much all the same shit happened. I bought extra rounds from Quartermaster Barden, blew up the power plant, fought through the horde, and this time around stood my ground against the waves of legionaries charging me. I've really only spoken on the issues that come with the minigun. Really just how the maintenance cost is so high and the bullets need to be bought in more bulk than vendors will supply after one 3 a.m. visit to Walmart. But this is where the gun really showed what it was made of. It was very reminiscent of that feeling of getting the Gatling laser in the endgame of Fallout 3 and advancing towards the Jefferson Memorial. Would I suggest this playstyle? No. As fun as it was, it just didn't feel worth it. The amount of 5mm you need just for a single expedition is ridiculous. So much of your time is spent just trying to keep up with its need for ammo, and Fallout New Vegas isn't really geared towards situations needing a minigun. Playing through this way really made me understand why people default to a smooth-talking pistolero or the classic sneak archer, I mean sniper kind of build. But I digress. For some reason, it wasn't my ammo pack that was glitching this time. It was the actual firing of the gun itself. The bullets did not come out of the gun. How wacky is that? Now, I could make a comment about how discovering new bugs every time I replay a title put out by Bethesda is reflective of how crunch is an awful business practice that could very well be the downfall of gaming. I could maybe even throw that one Shigeru Miyamoto quote on the screen. I could do that. But instead I'm just gonna laugh. I think Bethesda bugs and glitches are some of the funniest shit out there. Finally, it was time to confront Legate Lanius. This was it. The final showdown. The coup de grace. That thing Hugh Jackman wouldn't stop singing about. Needless to say, a giant gun versus a delusional grown man playing dress-up and taking orders from a self-righteous codpiece. Well, the Legate wasn't gonna win. Walking down towards the exit, I was so excited to finally be done with this playthrough. I made it about 2 hours longer than it needed to be by betraying the NCR and neglecting my gun's condition. Being a dingling, I forgot I had to deal with General Lee Oliver. I didn't have time for his shit. I had a pizza in the oven, and wasn't in the mood to take smack from a dude with less screen time and build-up than Easy Pete. I drew my gun for the last time, and I beat Fallout New Vegas with only a minigun. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel and it's totally free. I also stream on Twitch if you want to see stuff like this live. This video was obviously inspired by Mitten Squad. He is hands down one of the best creators on this site and has recently returned from his hiatus. If you're not familiar, I highly suggest you give his content a watch, especially if you're a fan of Fallout and the Elder Scrolls. Thanks for watching. I've been that fellow over there, and I hope you have a beautiful day.